It's Elizabeth. I'm back with a different book. I was wanting to sit down and look at this book today, and I thought I would just record myself going through it. Anyways, it's Collecting Rhinestone and Colored Jewelry. It's the expanded and updated 4th edition. Mary Ann Dolan. Had this for a few years. Let's see. Yeah, make sure I'm all in the screen there. There we go. Okay, so this was published in 1988. So there we go. There's a spy at the table of contents. What I'm most interested in looking at today are the manufacturers and the color pictures. There are a lot of pictures in here that are nice, but they are not color, and that just doesn't have my attention today. So here we go. Got a history of rhinestones, so that is really good. And it talks about the manufacturers. So in the 1940s, there were 929 costume jewelry manufacturers concentrated in New York and Providence, Rhode Island. New York had long been a center of the jewelry trade, but Providence and neighboring Attleboro, Massachusetts fell into the great costume jewelry bonanza by virtue of their backgrounds. Since the early days of America, the days of metal shoe buckles and hat buckles, big and square and impressive, these cities had been involved in the manufacture of silver items as well as unimportant gewgaws for personal wear. It was natural that after a meager start, a few cheap trinkets in the jewelry manner, which were surprisingly successful, Providence, with its historic affinity for metalwork, should ultimately prove to be the major producer of non-precious jewelry. At one time, figures as high as 85 to 90% of the total jewelry output were quoted as being Providence's contribution to all production. That's a little confusing, but that's okay. Anyways, this little section here is about Coro. The name is a contraction of an earlier trade name, Cohn and Rosenberger, and the company has been around for a very long time, since 1902. Industry leader. During the Depression, Coro built itself a huge plant in Providence, which some scorned as a waste of money, but after World War II, it found itself in the unique position of being the mostest with the bestest. Given the size of its physical plant, its equipment, experience, and shrewd business heads, Coro surged ahead of the competition. Okay. All right, over here, it's talking about swank. So, while the bulk of the colored stone and rhinestone jewelry was crafted for women, men were not entirely forgotten. Cufflinks, shirt tacks, tie pins, rings, and tie clasps were all set with rhinestones or colored stones and were quite popular. The biggest name in men's costume jewelry was swank, almost a household word in the 1940s and 50s. Time was when the bridegroom's gift to the best man and ushers at any wedding was a nicely boxed set of swank jewelry. think I need to slow down. Anyways, large numbers of these sets are still intact and in the original boxes. So, there we go. Richters. Some older pieces of rhinestone and colored stone jewelry bear the name Richters. This was the product of Richter's Jewelers, Inc., located now in 1998 at 680 Fifth Avenue, New York. And as of the writing of this book, they were only selling fine jewelry. Costume jewelry was very much a part of their early production. Rhinestones and colored stones appeared in all the pieces I've seen marked with this name, and a 1949 advertisement displays a designer's showpiece copy of a fabulous diamond wristwatch, the entire bracelet band hand set with flashing rhinestones, matching the brilliance of hand-set diamonds. La-di-da. Okay, and then this next section is about crements. In pursuing any catalog of fine jewelry, such as that issued by Richter's, be aware of close adaptations rhinestone designers made to the more expensive models. This is nowhere more evident than in the workmanship of crements. There may have been more expensive jewelry made, but any collector should be willing to pay more to acquire the beautiful objects crafted by Crements and Company. Even to the untutored eye, the designs and sheer quality of the pieces are apparent. Crements has had long practice. Its history began in 1866. In 1922, it changed to Crements and Co. And there we go. Okay, let's see. So there's information about, okay. So we have some information about Trifari. So Trifari, as most collectors and dealers call it, is really Trifari, Crustman, and Fischl. And while it could not compete in numbers with the largest Coro, it left most of the others standing while it raced off with all the high-style accolades. Its design works was so superb that others in the trade referred to it as the Trifari look. It was a refined approach, subtle and quite beautiful, especially in some of the earlier pieces. In the 1950s, some of the output did resemble much of whatever else was coming out of Providence. Let's see. Eisenberg. When we collectors talk of old Eisenberg or Hobey, we lower our voices and use hushed tones. It is that awe-inspiring. Even in the old days of the Depression, Eisenberg did everything in a big way. The older jewelry is monumental not only in design but in size. It is large without being clumsy and always impressive. The stones are, and have always been, of the finest quality Austrian crystal. Eisenberg ice is one of the most coveted names to any collector, although it is not the first mark the company used. Their history began in 1914. Carl Eisenberg says today, the original Eisenberg pieces were set in sterling, but during World War II, white metal was used due to scarcity of sterling, and since then, rhodium plating. So, there you go. Okay, next is Hobey. Another company produced exquisite jewelry with an unusual touch. Obey. A friend tells the story of her original quest for early rhinestone jewelry. One shop had many pieces, one a beautiful wide bracelet. When the dealer was asked about it, she replied in an awestruck voice, "Oh, that's a Obey." And that is the way the collecting world reacts to the superior product that was the end result of the imaginative designs of William Obey. Okay, and then we have Bogoff. Because in October of 1993, a memorable event occurred. A letter addressed to me arrived from Rhoda Bogoff Burns. Not just an ordinary letter. This was written by the daughter of Henry Bogoff, a rather overlooked titan in the early rhinestone jewelry industry. To a researcher and serious student of this jewelry, contact with someone who had been so intimately associated with the rhinestone era seemed so remarkable. I can still recall my happy astonishment. Goes on talking about that. Henry Bogoff emigrated to the U.S. through Ellis Island at the age of 16. He was born in a rural area of Warsaw, Poland in 1908. He spent his early years in New York City, where he met and married Yvette Glazerman. In the 1920s, they moved to Chicago and formed the Spear Novelty Company, which specialized in belt trimmings, buttons, and other accessories that featured rhinestones. The business prospered and provided a natural transition to the costume jewelry business. Jewels by Bogoff was formed in 1940, and the Bogoffs were one of the leading designers and manufacturers of costume jewelry until Henry's death in 1958. Okay. Castle Cliff. Castle Cliff of New York was considered a style leader, and its prices hovered around the $5 for a bangled bracelet. At the rate of inflation in this country, what a bargain such a bracelet would be at $20 or $25 in some shops. So that was in 1998 dollars. Castle Cliff was sold through such outlets as Bloomingdale's in New York and Joseph Magnan's in San Francisco. Castle Cliff's William Markle is considered to have been a top-notch designer. Okay. The next little bit is about Mazer. Mazer is a mark frequently encountered in the search for older jewelry. Mazer Brothers, New York, made quantities of jewelry which sold for somewhat lower prices. And then we have DeRosa. DeRosa of New York was also a big producer, but so far is more difficult mark to find. Other names during this period which should be sought out by collectors are Assessocraft, whose jewelry sold for $1, $2, and $3 in the 40s, priced a bit above much of Coro, which was being advertised for $1 a piece. Sandor, Jerry DeNicola, Vendome in the slightly higher bracket. Kramer, whose jewelry is almost always marked and of excellent quality. House of Schrager, which made some spectacular pieces. Benedict, which sold through fine stores. R.M. Jordan, a New York firm, was also a prolific manufacturer of jewelry, which sold well. Their prices were in the middle range. Okay, next, Breyer Manufacturing Co. It's B-R-I-E-R. They're out of Providence, Rhode Island. They manufactured and sold jewelry under the trade name Little Nemo. Unfortunately, their pieces often bore paper labels or were carded rather than marks appearing on the jewelry itself, so it was often difficult to identify accurately. Much of it is lower line, and it does not have the distinctive look of an Eisenberg or a Trifari. Okay. Silverman Brothers of Rhode Island was owned by Archibald Silverman, who emigrated from Russia as a boy and started work in the jewelry business. The story goes that he eventually invested less than $10 in his first venture, which was a success. It led to his fortune. It's really hard to imagine. It says both Breyer and Silverman produced cheaper jewelry which caught the public's fancy because it was timely. A piece to commemorate some event, it would sell well, and the companies moved on to something else. Okay. And then we have Hattie Carnegie. Oh, my mom's here. Hi. Okay. We have Hattie Carnegie was firmly entrenched at Saks Fifth Avenue and Filene's in Boston and was considered very high fashion jewelry. Although today much of Hattie Carnegie does not seem to tower over some of its competitors, either design-wise or in its materials, in those days it was more expensive and considered more select than much of the jewelry available. As vintage clothing dealers say of designer label clothing, snob appeal. Okay, Emmons. Emmons was the forerunner of Sarah Coventry. The jewelry was sold only at home jewelry parties through representatives. It's good quality if somewhat unimaginative. One owner says her Emmons crown pin survived being run over by her car, which certainly testifies to the excellence in its manufacture. In the later 1950s, the jewelry began carrying the Sarah Coventry name, even though the home parties were being booked under the name of Emmons. The mark is not easily found. Okay. Now, Sarah Coventry. It's interesting. This book is fairly old at this point. It says Sarah Coventry, not yet widely collected in the context of the rhinestone period, is abundant and much of it in its tailored style. Their advertising budget was large, and the jewelry for its time was considered fairly expensive. William J. Slattery of Sarah Coventry Inc. says that in the fall of 1984, the home party plan operation of Sarah Coventry was discontinued, and all of the facilities, inventory, and equipment has been sold. A licensed manufacturer in Canada is producing and distributing the jewelry in the U.S. Thus, the early Sarah Coventry becomes immediately collectible. Okay. We have a little blurb about Haskell. Haskell Jewels Limited is still functioning, again, as of 1998. Still making high fashion costume jewelry and still located in New York. The early Haskells are among the most sought after of the period jewelry. We have Monet. Monet has long been active in the costume jewelry field, but in the 1940s in New York, it produced tailored jewelry with no stones. Their later production, including rhinestones, is beautifully crafted and has great potential. Many of the Monet pieces have great elegance, and the company advertises them as handcrafted. And we have Boucher. Marcel Boucher, operating in New York in the 1940s, was considered on a par with the great manufacturers Trifari, Coro, Mazer, Castlecliff, and De Rosa. In retrospect, though, Boucher has the elegance and restrained touch more in keeping with the memorable classic jewelry than than with much of the 1940s mundane output. Boucher is becoming a prize for collectors. They are one of the great names in rhinestone jewelry. Okay, moving on to Richelieu. Richelieu considers itself a company with a pearl point of view, a wonderful summation of 100 years of producing America's favorite everyday jewel. The company was founded in 1885 and was acquired in 1979 by Victoria Creations. Victoria was formed in 1962 by Robert Andreoli, and today the company has 5 divisions, of which Encore, Bijou, Givenchy, and Karl Lagerfeld are part. The company says our jewelry styles today are comparable to the 1950s styling with strict quality control over product. Okay, we have Lisner. And it says Lisner is now under the umbrella of Victoria Creations, another old American company founded around the early 1900s. It was acquired by Victoria in 1979. Lisner still uses the Lisner mark and is considered by the parent company to be the second oldest company in the jewelry business. Certainly the company has made quantities of jewelry. The mark is not difficult to find. For some reason, collectors do not go into ecstasy over Lisner jewelry, although many of the early pieces are striking and lovely. There is much too that is interesting, and given so much manufactured over so long a time, there is some that is inferior. Collectors should buy all early Lisner, even lesser pieces. Okay, and then we're moving on to Pell. Pell Jewelry Company, which began in 1941, is still, as of 1998, a family-owned business. What is very exciting about this old company is the new affiliation that they have contracted with Mary Beth Burchart, a wonderfully talented jewelry designer. Burchart redesigns and adapts vintage Pell jewelry, and the new versions carry the Pell Company name as manufacturer and also the trademark of MBB. This is some of the most delightful new rhinestone jewelry you are likely to experience. Highly creative pieces glitter with rhinestones and brightly colored stones which have been colorized by selecting the hues best complementing each design. Each piece is plated in 24 karat gold. They are, according to the company, hand polished and hand set with Swarovski jewels, pearls, and cabochons. Okay. Then we're looking at Napier next. Napier Company, located in New York, uses as its current slogan, "Napier is jewelry." Since so many companies today are conglomerates making diverse products, the fact that Napier, an old manufacturing jewelry company, makes only jewelry indicates a commitment to excellence. Okay, then we have Signer. Signer can be considered venerable, having been founded in 1892 as a manufacturer of precious jewelry. The company calls itself a quiet giant and is still family owned and operated. There we go. And then here we have Jeray. It's Jeray. I'm not sure how you would pronounce that. Looks like Louis Hirsch of Jeray was convinced that successful costume jewelry manufacturers needed a sixth sense about trends. He was absolutely right, and the philosophy still holds. Jewelry, which is still a relatively unknown quantity, did anticipate trends, and its jewelry endures and is becoming quite collectible. Another mark which is not abundant but is worth searching for. Okay. It's talking about rhinestones in the US. And here is the section about the designers. Talks about Alfred Philippe of Trifari, talks about Adolphe Katz of Coro, William Hobey. Let's see. Natasha Brooks, Miriam Haskell, Elsa Schiaparelli, Hattie Carnegie, Lily Deshay, John Pico John, McClellan Barclay, Louis Kramer, Andre Floridas, Raymond Simonson, and Marcel Boucher, Eugene Joseph, Chanel, and Duc de Verdura. Okay, Moselle, Kenneth J. Lane, Eugene Bertoli, Alfred Riley, Paul Flato. So those are some names to learn more about. This is talking about the manufacturing and design process, and this talks about taking care of your rhinestone jewelry. Okay, and then this section I wanted to give a little bit of a closer look too. So these are jewelry trademarks. So much of the jewelry of the period with which this book deals was not marked in any way. When trademarks do appear, they can be found on the jewelry itself, or in the form of a paper label, or on cards to which smaller pieces such as ornamental pins were attached. The trademarks are listed alphabetically and include manufacturers who did not necessarily deal in rhinestones exclusively. The dates noted as since or first use indicate the first use of the mark as claimed by the manufacturer. Oh. Okay, this is the Aurora Jewelry Company. This is a mark from Napier. This one is Jurgens and Anderson. And this one is AB Manufacturing. That one's cute. This one over here is the jewelry mark of Stuckey and Spear Inc. And over here we have Arthur P. Bear. On here, Axel Brothers. Eisenstein, Warnock, and Sons. Let's see. Okay. Anchor Casting. Let me see how many pages this is. Okay, this section of the book is quite long, so I'm not going to name everything that we look at here. but it goes from page 31 to page 178. So there we go. So there's a lot of trademarks in here. So this is a good reference book for costume jewelry. Okay. This one is Avon, first used in 1962. Let's see. Okay, all kinds of things. Academy Award. Craft. We do see that once in a while. There we go. Adacharm, Charles Rothman Company. I think that says Rothman and Company. It's just a sort of a bad picture. Let's see. All kinds of stuff. It's hard to imagine all of these manufacturers considering the brand names that we run across today. You know, are fairly limited. That's a cute one. Astrologram. Let's see. This is Bowcraft. Let's see. So many brands. Barbie, Mattel Inc. Marked for combination sets of costume jewelry for young girls and dolls. First used February 1962. There's a bow. Bowcraft. This was first used in 1947. Let's see, some more Bowcraft marks. Bergeret. I think I've run into that. It was first used in July of 1947. Let's see. We have Bogoff, Jewels by Bogoff, Jewels by Bogoff. Excuse my yawn. Okay. This one, Calypso, was a mark for coral. Mark for necklaces, bracelets, lockets, chatelaines, fobs, hair barrettes, rings, brooches, charms, and jewelry clips since 1957. There's a Carnegie mark. Chanel. That logo was first used in 1914. Okay. Okay. Here's the Pegasus for Coro. Conan Rosenberger. Mark for all the usual types of jewelry plus beads, pins, hat ornaments, hair ornaments, holders for face powder, compacts, comb cases, and cigarette cases, fancy buckles, and jewelry initials. First used in July of 1939, and the mark was republished by Coro. And we have several Coro marks right there. Missed a page. And this whole page is Coro marks, as is almost all of this page. That is an awful lot of marks. It looks like Coronado was a mark for Uncas. Some more from Coro. Okay. There's a Danecraft mark of Felch and Co. These are Delma. Mark for all the usual types of jewelry made in whole or in part or plated with precious metal since May 1949. And then here's an updated one for them. So it reminds me of the Coro Pegasus, but of course it's not. It doesn't have wings. Maybe it's an antelope or something. Okay. Okay, over here we have the logo for Duet. That was a Cohen and Rosenberger, or Coro. First used in 1929. There's some Eisenberg ice. Elgin, Elizabeth Arden, Emma Emmons. Let's see. Just gonna go through here fairly quickly. So I want to show you all the pages, but I don't want to bore you to tears. These are some more marks from Coro. Let's see. Gem Art, Gem Craft. Got some Hattie Carnegie, kind of Miss Hattie. There's one I want to be sure to show you because I showed you a pair of earrings in a video or two before this one, where I had a small haul and then I showed part of my earring collection, and there's a special pair of earrings in there and I want to show you the mark. Joe Maz, Joseph, Judy Lee Jewels. Let's see. Kramer, Crements. Let's see. So many brands. This is a good exercise for me because I normally just rely on the online databases for looking at marks. I forget that I have this. And this is an excellent resource. Okay, we're in the L's. And Marbu, which was a Marcel Boucher brand. Let's see. Oh. All of these are different marks from Marbella. That's interesting. We have Matisse, another Matisse, another Matisse. Let's see. Okay. A lot of Napier marks here. Pooped poodle. That apparently was a Hattie Carnegie brand. First used April 1965. Okay. Rabajes. Okay, I think we're getting through it. Helena Rubinstein, Lillian Russell, okay. Well, that is interesting. It's like a little beetle with a sash going around it. Shaw Gems. That's interesting. Okay. There we go. Tripari. Let's see. Okay. This is the one that I was talking about earlier. Wingback, the Wingback Company, New York, New York. Mark for earrings since November 1946. So, if you haven't seen my earring video, you can go back and watch it and see what unusual earrings those are. Okay, I think we're done with that part. And these are lovely pictures, but they're black and white. I can't really deal with that today. But I thought I would flip forward to the color pictures section. Okay. This is a floral spray pin by Trifari and a bow pin by Trifari. These are unusual fur clips by Trifari. I can safely say I've never seen those before. And then a Coro Craft earring and necklace set. Very pretty. Okay. That one looks pretty modern. It's Hollycraft. There's two different Joe Maz brooches. Oh, look at that beautiful Boucher necklace. And some butterflies. Oh, look at those. Trifari fur clips. And here's a Coro Duet. Let's see. That is a big bird. It says he's 8 inches long and marked Weinberg of New York. So that's a heck of a brooch. Okay. Beautiful. I really like this Hollycraft bracelet. Some flower baskets. This one is a Schiaparelli. This one is Panino. I love that. The molded glass. Okay, let's see what else. Lovely things. Okay, and more black and white photos. Talks about bracelet earring sets. Accessories. Belt buckles, or buckles. It says, it doesn't say belt buckles. Compacts. More compacts, more compacts. Let's see. Okay, dress clips. These are pretty wild. Hippos on top of teeth. Oh, it's really interesting. Okay, more dress clips, and then we've got some evening bags in here. Lipstick and cigarette cases. And shoe clips and buckles. There we go. Yeah, those are fancy. Those are fancy. Okay. These are men's accessories over here, and then watches over here. Little hair combs. I love a good hair comb. Got some stick pins over here. So this book kind of has it all. And a curling iron. And black enameled wooden dice set with rhinestones. The only such pair I have ever seen. The original case is leather covered metal. Tremendous collector's item and conversation piece from the early 1920s. Interesting. Okay, well, I hope that you enjoyed having a look into this book, Collecting Rhinestones and Colored Jewelry by Marianne Dolan. Thanks for spending time with me, and I will talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.